Right, listen up. Tonight, we rip open the headline, peel back the gloss, and ask a blunt question. Could Zack Polanski and a Green Party government actually work for Britain? I'm Jack Carter, and if you've been watching the polling headlines and thinking, oh, maybe, well, grab a brew. This isn't a puff piece. This is a reality check. First thing, the electoral math. The Green surge looks big on social media and in national polls, but that's not how we pick prime ministers under first past the post. Greens are concentrated in a handful of urban, inner-city pockets and university towns. That gives them headlines, not seats. The system rewards geographic spread, parties with broad working-class support across constituencies. So yes, you can triple your national vote share and still end up with a single-digit seat count. Zack Polanski as Prime Minister? It's a nice soundbite for late-night dispatches, but it's a fantasy when you put the map under a microscope. You know what I mean. Think about it. No, the energy illusion. By the way, this is the critical point most people skirt around because it's technical and it's scary. The Green Roadmap leans hard on wind, solar, and electrification. Basically, renewables plus an early exit from North Sea gas. Sounds clean, sounds noble, right? But renewables are intermittent. They need massive investment in storage, backup capacity, and transmission upgrades. That costs billions, and guess who pays? Households and businesses. Imagine steeper energy bills, spot prices spiking on cold nights, and factories idling because the grid can't guarantee power. That's not theory. That's what happens when policy outpaces engineering. Energy poverty goes up, national resilience goes down. Common sense says you don't decommission reliable fossil capacity before you have affordable, reliable replacements. Yet that's precisely the gamble on the table. That's risky. And the social fabric, borders and cohesion, let's not pretend the Greens have a neat answer. Their internationalist instincts favour more open routes for migration and prioritise global commitments. Fine if you're in a shrinking, fictional world where public services magically expand to meet demand. But in the real world, schools are full, GP waiting lists are a scandal, and councils are stretched thin. When policy funnels more people into housing markets already tight, when local services are underfunded, who bears the strain? Existing British communities, often the working-class towns the Greens claim to represent. Cohesion frays when people feel overlooked and when politicians talk ideals without talking resources. That's not compassion, that's abstraction. Listen, no one's saying shut the world out, but you don't put ideology ahead of infrastructure and planning. Then there's the economic fallout. Tax promises sound plausible on a think tank slide. Wealth taxes, green levies, closing corporate loopholes. But translate that into Treasury realities and you hit a wall. To fund sweeping green programs and subsidies, governments will raise taxes or squeeze spending elsewhere. Who pays? Historically, the burden often lands on middle-income households. Energy bills, council tax, VAT hikes on everyday goods. Meanwhile, industries that keep towns alive, farming, manufacturing, haulage, face regulation, higher compliance costs, and possible curbs on activities the Greens view as unsustainable. Envision a farmer hit by restrictions on fertilizer or culling practices, or a steelworks faced with carbon surcharges that make it uncompetitive. Jobs vanish, supply chains wobble. That's not cheerful. That's economic damage done in the name of a vision most people never voted for. Unacceptable. Let's be blunt. The green dream is often a middle-class fantasy shaped in city cafes, not in the factories, pubs and farms across this country. The political class, think tanks, PR firms, influencers can talk about moral leadership and global responsibility while ignoring the trade-offs on the ground. But trade-offs exist. There's no moral victory in policies that elevate virtue signaling over homes kept warm, hospitals that function, and jobs that sustain families. We must ask who pays the real price when ideals become policy. So what do we do? Two things. 1. Stop being seduced by poll spikes and sound bites. Look at seat maps, constituency by constituency. Ask, will this actually win power? And if it does, what will it mean in my town? 2. Pressure for realism. If you care about cleaner air and a sustainable future, good, but insist on transition plans that protect industry, shield the vulnerable from higher bills, and keep energy supplies secure. Demand greater honesty on costs and timelines. If politicians won't offer that, hold them to account. Finally, and this matters, this isn't about hating green ideas. It's about demanding competence. We all want future generations to breathe cleaner air and not freeze in the dark. But we also want policies that are deliverable, that preserve prosperity, and that respect communities who will feel policy first. If the Greens can reconcile their ideals with pragmatic steps, credible transition financing, realistic energy mixes, clear immigration plans linked to services, then maybe we'll talk differently. Until then, the rhetoric collapses under scrutiny.
Right. Weigh in. Call your MP, ring your local paper, tell your neighbour. Talk about these trade-offs at work, in the pub, at the dinner table. If you think this country deserves better than idealistic headlines, make some noise. Ha, I'll be listening.
That's it from me tonight. I'm Jack Carter. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and for heaven's sake, look at the map. Good night.